Episode 1 of Chosen whisks us across to the most boring town in Denmark, Medelbo. At least it was anyway, until a meteor hit 17 years back. Since then the town is affectionately referred to as Meteorbo. Guests are attracted to see the large crater, with Emma there enthusiastically revealing more information. The meteor itself is kept in a glass cage, which one of the guests convinces Emma to let him touch. Unfortunately, he gets a bit handsy and it shatters. Emma's boss is obviously unhappy and fires her. This event seems to have a knock-on effect to the authorities too, who pick up a strange signal emanating from Medelbo. The thing is, there are rumblings across the town, with some people believing that the meteor is a fake. On her way home, Emma meets Hussein at his house. He's not there to give Emma back her job though, and instead is here to divulge the truth. He reveals that the meteor is a fake and the real one was destroyed on impact. In order to stop Emma's snooping, Hussein pays her off with fare tickets and free drinks. Emma shows up with her mum, and the pair get along well. Unfortunately, Emma finds her doofus boyfriend kissing another girl called Noreen. She breaks things off with him after confronting the guy about his cheating, and starts drinking heavily. I'm not sure where her mum is during this time, but there we go. Up on stage, Hussein introduces a man named Thomas Damberg. He represents a company called Andreas, who happen to be an international hedge fund, and they're about to set up shop in town. He wants to make Medelbo the shipping center of Europe. Drunk and wandering about the fair on her own, Emma eventually passes out on the road. She's helped by Marie, a blonde girl she saw earlier on in Emma's drunken visions. She's joined by Elvis, Mads and a motley band of other teens who believe that the meteor is just a front for what's actually happening. And they deduce that something is an alien spaceship. There's a big conspiracy brewing here, and it's not helped by the fact that a month ago Andreas didn't even exist to them. Emma obviously rejects the call to action, but she's undoubtedly interested. So in the morning, she heads down to the shipyard and speaks to Thomas. He explains the company was created back in 1875. That night, Emma meets Marie, who admits that their current target is a woman named Susan. She was there 17 years ago when the meteor crashed, and she suspects this boring doctor knows more than she's letting on. And when she leaves with the biology teacher, Mr. Hans, it seems to prove as such. While Mads and Elvis are full on with the snooping and alien conspiracy, Marie is not. She admits to Emma that she just likes watching people, letting it remind her that people are as fucked up as I am. As the episode closes, we cut to the forest, where those bright lights we've been seeing manifest itself into a strange figure who snaps the neck of an animal before walking toward the camp. Episode 2 of Chosen begins with Emma heading to school, reconvening with Marie and discussing the night's events. Ironically, Emma's first lesson is with Mr. Hans. After class, Hans invites her over to his place in an absolutely not creepy moment. Emma immediately crumbles, telling him she didn't see anything. This is, of course, in reference to the affair, but his dumbfounded look causes her to reel back this confession. Meanwhile, Jonas continues to act like a jerk at school. He pretends he's still in a relationship with Emma and pranks Marie with paint in her bag. In retaliation, Emma takes Jonas's phone and decides to use the pictures as incriminating leverage to use against him. When Mads and the others find out, they refuse to get involved, pointing out that they may be snooping illegally, but not willing to expose people for their misdemeanors. Instead, they encourage Emma to meet Hans that night. Mads hands her over a USB stick which she wants to hook up to his laptop. There's a program on there that can hack into his system and see if he's hiding anything. If that wasn't enough, Emma also manages to bag herself a job at Andreas too. Emma eventually does head over to Hans's house that night. While he's on the phone, Emma looks set to see the USB stick, but Hans's computer doesn't seem to have a slot for it. Emma listens from afar as Hans tells the person on the phone to assemble now. I doubt he's an Avenger, but it's certainly an ominous sign. In fact, after his call his whole persona changes and he begins to grow suspicious, telling Emma she needs to leave and asking who sent her. When she leaves, Mads suggests she snoop again, but this time with Frederick and Marie with her. Meanwhile, that strange figure we saw last episode purposefully through a field. He appears to be human too, as it turns out, but his arm has a weird holographic map on it. Frederick sneaks into Hans's place while Marie and Emma talk outside. Marie has big parental issues, namely her father who's handled the death of her mother really badly. She's tried to be there for him, but it's clear that this is taking a toll on her well-being. When Hans leaves his house, Frederick scrambles back in the car. Together, they follow Hans and realize that he was having an affair with Susan after all. Hans's most recent visit is actually to break things off. The thing is, when he returns home he finds Emma snooping around and warns her that they can't trust anyone. However, that strange figure from before suddenly shows up in Hans's house. Quick as a flash, he strikes Hans several times. Hans fights back. As Emma gets involved too, she's subsequently knocked out for her troubles and taken down to the basement. Hans tells her to relax, touching the back of her head with a strange orb that sees her experience dazzling purple lights. When Hans lets go, he kills himself while Emma manages to slip away, all of which done in shaky cam point of view mode. When Emma heads home, she catches up with Marie, and the pair end up sleeping together. While they do, that masked figure from before begins to look through everything Hans has collected up in his basement. Episode 3 of Chosen begins with that masked figure unveiling his true form. After getting rid of his mask, complete with long, sharp spikes protruding into his back, he takes on a human form and arrives at a local diner. Copying the mannerisms of those around him, he orders a drink. He also begins acting incredibly suspect too, although no one really pays him any attention. After what happened with Hans, Emma speaks to Marie and contemplates whether to go to the police or not. When a new sub-teacher shows up and takes Hans's place, Emma is shocked. It all seems to be a big conspiracy, as a suspect voicemail is left on his phone, and the official story being peddled is that Hans has a family emergency and won't be teaching for a while. The police have found nothing, as it turns out, and a visit to his property confirms as much. There's no sign of struggle. No body, no evidence of a break-in whatsoever. And the basement? Empty. In order to get some answers and prove she's not completely crazy, Emma heads over to visit Susan. As suspected, she confirms that she and Hans broke up that night. The memories are too painful for her, though, and eventually she tells Emma to leave. Meanwhile, Mads gets to work investigating Andreas. Doing some digging, he learns that the company have numerous subsidiary companies, and all of them are set up and located around previous UFO sightings and places with extraterrestrial activity. Mads believes that Andreas want their hands on alien tech, hence the secrecy. Mads refuses to believe what Emma has seen. After all, she's only just become part of their team, and to suddenly see an alien and be wrapped up in this feels like too big a coincidence. The clues they need, however, may well lie with the shipping dock. Andreas have a big area that's secretively closed off, and it could well hold valuable intel. That much is especially true when Emma heads to work. As she tries to open one of the doors, her boss jumps in and warns her against doing this, reminding her sternly that this is off limits. When Emma joins with the group again, she recollects seeing a silver van parked outside Hans's place. Thanks to Frederick's quick wits and ringing a rental place, lucky it was a rental van, wasn't it? They managed to tack down its location to a seedy motel just outside town. The records they managed to pull don't confirm much, although a man by the name of Jens Jessen may or may not be a clue here. While they wait for movement at the motel, Emma ends up sleeping with Frederick. Wait, didn't she have a thing going with Marie? What is she doing? Anyway, the pair get a motel room and have sex. After, Emma heads out midway through her shower when she hears a truck leaving. It's their truck, but the driver isn't the man they're looking for. Concerned, he tells Emma to put more clothes on before driving off. Meanwhile, Elvis and Marie head back into Hans's place and begin looking around. Upon closer inspection, Marie finds traces of fungus hidden next to a dresser. We haven't seen a lot about Elvis, but here we learn there are tensions between him and his sister Noreen. The same Noreen who kissed Jonas at the fairground. Elvis is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, given his father isn't doing very well. He's kept it a secret from her this whole time. After this bit of exposition, Marie takes a flower she found in the basement to Mads. There are no scientific records of it in the system, meaning the flora could well be extraterrestrial by nature. It's a big breakthrough and the gang all begin drinking and celebrating their win. Emma, though, doesn't share in the celebrations. When she returns to the group, she reveals to Marie that she's had enough of this life and just wants to be normal. So with that, she rides home alone. Unfortunately, being alone makes her vulnerable, and she's soon kidnapped by that strange man who killed Hans. In an abandoned warehouse, he questions her about the organism and how these parasites are hungry, wanting to kill anything that gets in their way, including Emma. As he looks set to walk away, Emma decides to trust him and checks notes, asks him to give her a life home. En route, we find out his name is Lucas. The fact that she's so calm over this man she saw murder her teacher is utterly bizarre. Weirdness continues that night as we cut across to various townsfolk who gather around Hans's deceased body and drop to their knees in a circle. While they do, Emma notices a strange orb in the back of her neck and pulls it free. The same orb that Hans seems to have. Episode 4 of Chosen begins with Emma in her room holding that strange blue orb again. It seems to react to her touch, and more specifically her blood. Needing help in deciphering what this means, Emma heads back to see Mads and the gang. He believes the lights and touch are a pattern of sorts, deciphering that the orb sends a signal out. It appears it could well be connected to the old sawmill outside Medelbo. Excitedly, Emma suggests they all travel together. Wait, didn't she literally just say last episode she didn't want to get involved anymore? This girl's motivations are all over the shop. Mads follows Emma as she meets Lucas, wanting his help. Mads takes her aside, though, and warns that he could be Andreas looking to find out what she's hiding. He implores her to be careful and suggests she leave with them before she messes something else up. Although she listens to Mads and turns away from the mysterious Lucas, she heads to work instead. As part of being a new employee, a medical is conducted. Her blood sample is taken, and a strange questionnaire asking her to describe herself in a few words is another red flag. In the distance, she notices Thomas watching her suspiciously. When Emma heads home, her mom has made some calls. Emma's earlier plea about wanting to leave and get out of town has struck a chord. In fact, Emma's mom has gone out of her way to find an apartment in Copenhagen. If she wants, they can leave tomorrow. Emma is incredulous and tells her mother she's changed her mind and doesn't want to leave. Not now, she has friends and a love triangle to develop. And who better to visit the sawmill together than Marie, Frederick, and Emma? The thing is, Mads isn't actually aware of them leaving together. Emma is quick to dissuade the others from telling him. When Frederick heads out to investigate the sawmill, Marie tells Emma she needs to let Frederick down gently given what they have together. As Maria leans over to kiss her, Emma rejects her and slips out the car, intending to find Frederick. Alone, Maria is approached by a strange woman who appears and tells her she needs to step out the car as she's on private property. Frederick has already been captured by these strange people, while Emma manages to find where Hans is being kept, courtesy of some not very well disguised purple lights outside. Heading into the barn alone, Emma notices a massive orb covered in a tarp. Removing it, this strange, shimmering object appears to be an organism of some sort. On the ground happens to be Hans's deceased body, which seems to be hooked up to this thing. Now, we heard Lucas speak of a parasite that wants to destroy everything, so perhaps this orb is the original form? Realizing Marie and Frederick have been captured, Emma sets off one of the car alarms outside to distract their captors. This gives the pair an opportunity to leave, but in doing so Emma is left behind. In her absence, the gang reconvene where the truth is revealed. Mads reveals that Emma has slept with both Frederick and Marie, sending the latter out that night with a broken heart. As Frederick tries to talk her around, Emma shows up and guilt trips them all about leaving her alone. As she once again leaves on her own, Emma is soon punished for that foolish action by being chased by a strange man. She does manage to evade him, but only courtesy of Lucas showing up. As they drive off together, she shows him the orb. Emma has decided to trust Lucas after all, believing he's the key to all of. Episode 5 of Chosen begins in the past with Emma's mum given a new identity. She granted the name of Licky, and with papers in hand, she heads off to make a new life for herself. In the present, Emma learns that this small orb is linked to a spaceship. In order to uncover more of the truth, Lucas urges Emma to drive him up to the sawmill. He wants to get a look at whatever is being hidden there. However, when they arrive, the barn is completely empty. It appears these mysterious men and women have moved everything, and in doing so, it also makes the orb completely useless. Crushing it with his hand, Lucas turns the orb to dust and presses on with the next step. They're going to try and track them down, but Lucas wants to do this alone. He's determined to stop them, knowing this extraterrestrial threat needs to be contained before it wipes out everyone. To try and make amends, Emma picks up a couple of drinks and heads back to base. It's worth watching the bottles on the table though, as the continuity of these shots is, well, terrible. The two bottles sporadically move about and Emma's drink, along with Mads' laptop, just disappear or reappear. Anyway, the aim of this is not actually to make peace, but to get access to Mads' laptop, which shady Emma does, by spilling said drink over Mads. With Elvis distracted with him, Emma slips away with Mads' hard drive, which is full of all the incriminating information he's found on Andreas. On the way out the door, Emma runs into Marie. Straight-faced, Emma claims they have something together and wants to start over. Only, when Frederick shows up, it throws that idea straight out the window. Deceptive Emma eventually heads back to see Lucas, handing him Mads' hard drive. One of the men Mads has been watching is a guy called John Dinkler, who just so happens to be the man she noticed at the warehouse. Mads is convinced that Emma's working with Andreas and heads to the shipping dock to confront Thomas. It turns out he's hiding nothing, as it seems. The locked warehouse room is just another dead end, unless everything has been moved, of course. Mads is upset and livid that his whole operation has been destroyed. In his rage, he pushes all of his friends away and tells them to leave. Meanwhile, Emma and Lucas head off together to find John. They do manage to uncover his camper van, where the pair lie and claim they're family members. With this info, they're given access and begin looking around. Emma does manage to find a prescription, but beyond that, there's not much more to go on. Only, wouldn't you know it, John Dinkler just so happens to walk past the diner they're both eating in. What are the odds, eh? While Lucas heads outside to confront him, Marie appears and talks to Emma. She doesn't even bat an eyelid to the fact there are two glasses on the table. While she's distracted buying a drink, Emma slips outside. There, she finds Lucas and another man lying on the floor. Lucas has a shard of glass wedged in his side, while the other man is lying face down on the floor, dead after an earlier skirmish. In their absence, Marie grabs her bag and heads outside. Only, Emma is gone. Emma brings Lucas back home and uses bright lights to try and help restore his energy. He's in a rough state, and while Emma leaves him in her room, she takes a bath to mull things over, cradling a bottle of pills. Now, it turns out the pills she's taking have a link to John's prescriptions, bringing her back to Susan again. Thomas eventually does reach out to Mads again, and brings him back to the shipping docks, where he reveals all. Andreas are a company founded to look for extraterrestrial life. They want to be the link between space and Earth. Given all the work he's uncovered, Thomas is impressed and believes his hard drive would be crucial for Andreas's research. Only, that also means he needs his work to make it possible. And of course, that brings him after Emma. Ringing Marie to let her know his intentions, Mads remains determined to get at Emma. Only, she doesn't have it, Marie does. She opens her bag to reveal she's taken it from her. As the episode comes to a close, Marie checks through the hard drive and eventually decides to throw it away. She heads out to the dock and launches it into the lake. There's no way of using it now. Unless she made a backup copy, of course. Emma bides her time and breaks into Susan's clinic. Thanks to Lucas's abilities, he opens the door from the inside. Going on alone, Emma uncovers numerous vials inside the fridge. After taking several for herself, she stages a break-in. The samples appear to be the blood of Hans and several other deceased people too. When Susan returns to the clinic and immediately drives to the supermarket, Lucas and Emma decide to tail her. Together, they watch her head to the supermarket and seemingly conspire with Emma's mum. What are Emma's origins? Who is she? Episode 6 of Chosen begins at the supermarket, with Emma shocked that her mother is part of the conspiracy. From the other side of the conversation, though, Licky and Susan discuss the barn and how Emma was there the previous night. They're worried that Emma is going to expose them all. Emma feels betrayed and heads home, confronting her mum about this surprise turn of events. It turns out Emma's biological mum is actually dead, and Emma was given to Licky to look after as a baby. Realizing her whole life has been a lie, Emma begins to spiral. What happens at the warehouse? At the warehouse, Lucas is nowhere to be found. Instead, armed guards show up along with Emma's boss from Andreas. Emma is arrested, but on her way out, bodies begin to fall from the roof, played to joyful, uplifting music. Really? Talk about a tonally discordant scene. Anyway, each of the men and women are killed by Lucas, who's bloodstained and left an absolute massacre in his wake. Emma's reaction? Completely nonchalant. She notices Mads sitting in his car, scared, but she ignores him and instead gets back in the car with this mass murderer and doesn't even bat an eyelid. Thomas shows up at the crime scene, where Mads is still in his car, shocked. Thomas encourages him to keep his head in the game and tasks the kid with tracking down Emma. He rings Frederick, who actually covers for Emma and claims she's not there. She is, though, as we find out, and convinces him to help cover her tracks. Frederick serves as a decoy, tricking Mads while she manages to slip away, heading to Mama Ty's restaurant. There, she meets Adrian, who confirms that Licky is using the mom veto. What are the aliens doing on Earth? What is their endgame? Adrian eventually divulges the truth. Now, it turns out it was a spaceship that arrived 17 years back, not a meteor. These aliens left their planet, fleeing those who wanted to kill them. They travel through space, looking for somewhere where the inhabitants look the same as them. And wouldn't you know it, out of all the possibilities of life forms, they stumble upon humans. Emma's biological mother actually died whilst giving birth, but Licky was there to help deliver her. Hans was there too, and helped Licky give up her old identity and become Emma's mother. So that means Emma is one of them. This could also go some way to explain her emotionless reaction to most of the traumatic things that have happened to her. Now, the plan here is for the aliens to leave the planet and return home when the war is over. That signal we've been hearing seems to be a clue that the war is over. Only, it's actually a trick. The signal has originated on Earth. Not only that, it seems Lucas is actually the real villain here. I don't know about you guys, but I never suspected the mass murderer as the one who's the villain in all of this. What happens to Emma's mum? Emma eventually returns home to find her mum has been killed, and Lucas is there waiting for her. He grabs Emma by the throat and demands to know who she is. Emma does manage to get away, but as Andreas show up at her door, they head inside and begin shooting at Lucas. Emma, meanwhile, rushes away across the train tracks and into the wilderness. She suddenly stops in her tracks, though, when she finds that strange orb, much bigger and hovering in the sky. Emma stops and watches as all these aliens, including Adrian, encourage her to hurry up and join them. How does Chosen end? As she steps forward, Adrian tells her that there are others, and she needs to find them. And just like that, the orb disintegrates and Lucas appears, breaking Adrian's neck. As Emma runs away, the sky turns purple, and she ends up in that same strange world we saw her in when talking to Adrian. This has been a disappointing teen drama, if I'm honest, and the illogical story beats and issues have only been made worse by the lack of consistency with the characters. Whether there will be a big enough audience willing to overlook this and jump into a second season is anyone's guess, but based on this showing, if it is greenlit, this one needs to improve drastically.